When my brother proposed to the woman who disappeared from my life, he asked me to walk her down the aisle because she was my ex-fiancée. Throwaway account because this is beyond fucked up and I need to get this out somewhere before I lose my mind. So I, 29M, got a call from my little brother Jake, 26M, last night that has me questioning everything I thought I knew about my family and my life. He was super excited, talking fast, and the first thing he said was, "Dude, I proposed." Emma said yes. For a second, I thought he was talking about some Emma I didn't know. Like, "Cool bro, congrats on finding someone." But then he started talking about wedding plans and mentioned something about, you know how Emma's parents live overseas and can't make it to the wedding. And that's when it hit me like a freight train. Emma. As in Emma Chun. As in my ex-fiancée Emma, who disappeared from my life 2 years ago without any explanation. I literally dropped my phone. Just straight up dropped it and stared at the wall for like 5 minutes trying to process what I'd just heard. Let me back up and explain why this is so completely insane. 3 years ago, I was engaged to Emma. We'd been together for 2.5 years, living together for 1 year, and I thought she was the love of my life. We had everything planned out, wedding venue booked, invitations ordered. I'd already put a down payment on a house for us. Emma was excited about everything, constantly talking about our future, showing me Pinterest boards of wedding decorations. Then one day in March 2022, I came home from work and she was just gone. Not like gone to the store gone. Gone. All her stuff was packed up and removed from our apartment. Her key was on the kitchen counter. No note, no explanation, nothing. I tried calling her immediately, straight to voicemail. Texted her, no response. Went to her work. They said she'd quit that morning via email and wasn't coming back. I tried calling her friends, and they all claimed they had no idea where she was or what had happened. Within 48 hours, Emma had blocked me on every social media platform, changed her phone number, and basically vanished from existence. I even tried reaching out to her parents, who live in Singapore, but they told me Emma had asked them not to give me any information about her whereabouts. For months, I thought something terrible had happened to her. I filed a missing persons report, but the police said that since she'd clearly packed her things and quit her job voluntarily, and since her parents confirmed she was safe, there wasn't much they could do. She was an adult who chose to disappear. I was devastated. Like, completely destroyed. Not just because of the breakup, but because of how it happened. We'd been planning our wedding for 6 months. We'd just signed a lease together. 3 days before she disappeared, we'd had sex and she told me she loved me and couldn't wait to be my wife. And then nothing. No closure, no explanation, no chance to understand what I'd done wrong or try to fix it. I spent the better part of 2022 in therapy, trying to work through the trauma of having someone I loved just evaporate from my life. I questioned everything. Was our entire relationship a lie? Had I been blind to signs that she was unhappy? Was I some kind of terrible boyfriend and just didn't realize it? It took me almost 2 years to feel remotely normal again. I'd started dating other people, slowly rebuilding my confidence, accepting that I might never understand what happened but that I needed to move on. And now my brother calls me to tell me he's marrying her. When I picked my phone back up, Jake was still talking, completely oblivious to the fact that I was having a mental breakdown. So anyway, we're thinking a small ceremony. Maybe 50 people max. Emma doesn't have a lot of family here since her parents can't travel, so we were hoping you could walk her down the aisle. You know, since you guys were friends before she and I got together. Friends. He said friends. Jake, I managed to get out. How long have you and Emma been together? About 1 year and 3 months. We met at that coffee shop downtown. You know, the one with the good Wi-Fi where I used to study for my certification exams. She was working there part-time while doing freelance graphic design. I did the math in my head. Emma disappeared in March 2022. Jake started dating her around January 2023. So there was like a 10-month gap where I had no idea where she was or what she was doing. Jake, did Emma ever mention that she used to date someone seriously? Like, was engaged to someone? Oh yeah, she told me about her ex. Some guy who was apparently really controlling and possessive. She said the relationship was pretty toxic and she had to basically disappear to get away from him safely. What? I literally couldn't breathe. Controlling and possessive? Toxic? What else did she tell you about this ex? Not much. She doesn't like talking about it, which I totally understand. She just said he was the type of guy who wouldn't take no for an answer and that she was worried he might try to interfere with her new life. That's actually part of why we kept our relationship kind of low-key for the first few months. Low-key. They'd been dating for over a year, and I had no idea. In a city of 300,000 people, somehow I'd never run into them. Emma had managed to build an entire new life with my own brother without me knowing. Jake, what's Emma's last name now? Still Chun. Why are you asking all these weird questions? You're kind of freaking me out. So she'd kept her name, which meant when Jake started talking about Emma, I should have put it together immediately. But Chun is a common last name, and I guess I'd trained myself not to think about my Emma anymore. Jake, I need to tell you something, and you're probably going to think I'm lying or crazy. Okay, Emma's ex-fiancé, the controlling, possessive, toxic guy, that was me. Silence. Like, complete dead silence for at least 30 seconds. What do you mean that was you? I mean Emma Chun and I were engaged for 6 months. We lived together. We were supposed to get married in June 2022. And then one day she packed up all her stuff and disappeared without any explanation. More silence. Alex, that's not possible. Emma would have told me if you were her ex. You're my brother. Did she know you had a brother named Alex? Another pause. I don't know. I mean, I've mentioned you, but probably just as my brother or my older brother. And you've never met her, so? Right. Jake and I are close, but we don't hang out constantly. He has his own friend group, his own life. And for the past year, I've been focused on my own recovery and dating life. We'd talk maybe once a week, usually about work or sports or whatever. He'd mentioned he was seeing someone named Emma, but it was always casual mentions. I'd never asked for details because, honestly, I was still working through my own relationship stuff. Jake, I need you to think about this. When exactly did you meet Emma? January 15th, 2023. I remember because it was right after New Year's and I'd made this resolution to study at coffee shops instead of at home. And when did you first bring her around family? Another long pause. We haven't really done the family thing yet. Emma's kind of private, and we were taking things slow. Taking things slow for 15 months. Right. Jake, Emma has been avoiding family gatherings because she knows I'll be there. That's crazy, Alex. You're being paranoid. Am I? When was the last time Emma came to a family dinner? Or mom's birthday party? Or Christmas? I could hear Jake thinking. She's had work conflicts, or she's been sick, or... Jake, she's been avoiding me. She's been dating my brother for over a year and managing to never be in the same room as me. Alex, this is insane. Emma is not your ex-fiancé. You're projecting or something. But I could hear the doubt creeping into his voice. What does she look like, Jake? She's Asian, about 5 feet 4 inches, long black hair, brown eyes. Does she have a small scar on her left eyebrow from when she fell off her bike as a kid? Silence. Does she do this thing where she taps her fingers on tables when she's thinking? More silence. Is she allergic to shellfish, and does she hate horror movies but love true crime podcasts? Alex, stop. Does she have a tattoo of a small constellation behind her right ear? How do you know about the tattoo? And that's when I knew for sure. My brother has been dating my ex-fiancée for over a year. The woman who destroyed my mental health and disappeared from my life without explanation is now engaged to my little brother. And he wants me to walk her down the aisle. Jake, we need to talk in person. Tonight. Alex, I don't understand what's happening. Neither do I, but we're going to figure it out. I drove to Jake's apartment in a complete daze. My mind was racing with questions. Did Emma know Jake was my brother when she started dating him? Was this some kind of revenge plot? Had she been planning this the whole time? When Jake opened his apartment door, I could see Emma in the background, sitting on the couch with her laptop. She looked exactly the same as she did 2 years ago. Same haircut, same style of clothes, same way of curling up with her feet under her when she was working. The moment she saw me, her face went completely white. She slammed her laptop shut and stood up like she was about to run. Emma, I said. Alex, she whispered back. Jake looked back and forth between us, and I watched the realization hit him like a truck. Oh my God, he said. Oh my fucking God. Emma grabbed her purse and headed for the door. I have to go. No, I said, stepping in front of the door. We're going to talk about this. All of us. Right now. And that's when my life got even more complicated than I thought possible. Sit down, Emma. My voice was calmer than I felt. We're going to have a conversation that's about 2 years overdue. Emma looked like she was about to throw up. Jake looked like he was having an existential crisis. And I felt like I was in some kind of alternate universe where nothing made sense. I can't do this right now, Emma said, but she sat back down on the couch anyway. Jake was pacing around his living room. This is insane. This is actually insane. Emma, you've been dating my brother's ex-fiancé for over a year. I didn't know he was your brother, Emma said quietly. Bullshit, I said, louder than I meant to. You didn't know? Jake talks about his family constantly. You've been dating him for 15 months and you never once heard him mention his brother Alex who works in IT and lives across town. Emma looked down at her hands. I knew he had a brother named Alex. But Alex is a common name, and you made sure to never ask for details. You made sure to avoid every single family gathering. You've been actively hiding from me. Jake stopped pacing. Is that true? Have you been avoiding family stuff because of Alex? Emma's eyes filled with tears. Yes. Why? Jake asked. Emma, if you two dated before, why couldn't you just tell me? Why all the secrecy? I sat down across from Emma, studying her face. She looked older, more tired. There were worry lines around her eyes that hadn't been there when we were together. I want to know why you left, I said. Not the bullshit story you told Jake about me being controlling and possessive. The real reason. Emma wiped her eyes and looked up at me for the first time since I'd walked into the apartment. You really don't know? Know what? Emma, you disappeared without a word. I thought you were dead. I thought you'd been kidnapped or hurt. I filed a missing persons report. I was pregnant, Alex. The room went completely silent. Jake stopped pacing. I stopped breathing. What? I was pregnant. About 6 weeks. I found out 3 days before I left. My mind was reeling. And you didn't think to tell me? We were engaged, Emma. We were planning to spend our lives together. I was going to tell you. I was planning to tell you that weekend. But then what? Emma looked at Jake, then back at me. But then I overheard you talking to your coworker Mike at that bar downtown. You were drunk, and he was asking you about marriage and kids. I didn't remember the conversation she was talking about, but I'd gotten drunk with Mike plenty of times over the years. You told him that you weren't ready for kids yet, that Emma was pushing for marriage, but you figured you had at least 5 years before you'd have to worry about babies. You said you loved me, but that you hoped I wouldn't get baby crazy anytime soon because you wanted to focus on your career and travel and all that. Fuck. I vaguely remembered that conversation. Mike had been talking about his girlfriend wanting kids, and I'd probably said something stupid about being glad Emma and I were on the same page about waiting. Emma, that was just drunk talk. I didn't mean. You said that if I got pregnant anytime soon, it would ruin everything you'd planned for your life. Oh God, I probably had said that. Not because I wouldn't have wanted kids with Emma, but because we'd talked about waiting until after we were married and more financially stable. So when I saw the positive pregnancy test, all I could think about was how you'd said it would ruin everything. And I panicked. You could have talked to me about it. We could have figured it out together. I was scared, Alex. I was terrified that you'd think I'd gotten pregnant on purpose to trap you into marriage or something. That's ridiculous. Is it? We'd been talking about marriage for months, but you kept putting off setting a date. Every time I brought up actually planning the wedding, you'd say we should wait until you got the promotion, or until we saved more money, or until after we traveled to Europe. I remembered those conversations too. I'd been hesitant about rushing into marriage, not because I didn't love Emma, but because I wanted everything to be perfect. I thought you were having second thoughts about marrying me, Emma continued. And then I got pregnant, and I knew that if I told you, you'd feel obligated to go through with the wedding even if you didn't really want to. Emma, I did want to marry you. Did you? Or did you want to marry the idea of me? The Emma who was convenient and low maintenance and wasn't going to complicate your 5-year plan. Jake sat down heavily in his armchair. What happened to the baby? Emma's face crumpled. I lost it. About 2 weeks after I moved out. Miscarriage. I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. Emma, I was alone in a new city, working at a coffee shop, living in a studio apartment I could barely afford. And I lost the baby that I'd blown up my entire life over. You should have called me. And said what? Hey Alex, remember how I disappeared because I was pregnant with your baby? Well, good news. Now I'm not pregnant anymore, so we can go back to planning your perfect timeline. I didn't know what to say to that. I was devastated, Emma continued. Not just about the miscarriage, but about everything. I'd thrown away a relationship with someone I loved because I was too scared to trust him with the truth. So why didn't you come back? Why didn't you try to explain? Because by then, I'd realized that we had bigger problems than just the pregnancy scare. I'd realized that I didn't feel safe being completely honest with you about my fears and insecurities. And if I couldn't be honest with you about something that important, then maybe we weren't as solid as I'd thought we were. Jake had been quiet during this whole exchange, but now he looked up. So, when did you figure out that Alex was my brother? Emma turned to him with a guilty expression. About 3 months into our relationship. You showed me a family photo, and I recognized him immediately. And you didn't say anything? I was going to. I was planning to tell you everything and probably break up with you because the situation was too complicated. But then what? But then I realized I was falling in love with you. And I was terrified that if I told you the truth, you'd choose your brother over me. Jake looked hurt. That's not fair, Emma. You should have trusted me enough to let me make that decision. I know. I was a coward. I'd already lost one relationship because I was too scared to communicate honestly. I didn't want to lose another one. I was trying to process everything Emma had just told me. The pregnancy, the miscarriage, her fears about my commitment level, the months of loneliness and regret she'd experienced. Emma, I would have stepped up. If you'd told me you were pregnant, I would have been scared, but I would have stepped up. I know that now. But at the time, all I could hear was you saying that a baby would ruin everything. I was an idiot. I was 26 years old and talking out of my ass at a bar. And I was 24 years old and making life-altering decisions based on fear. We sat in silence for a few minutes. Finally, Jake spoke up. So what happens now? Emma and I looked at each other. I don't know, she said. I love Jake. I want to marry Jake. But I understand if this is too weird and complicated for everyone. It's definitely weird and complicated, I said. But Emma, I'm not the same person I was 2 years ago. And it sounds like you're not either. What are you saying? I'm saying that I spent 2 years thinking you left because I was somehow a terrible boyfriend. I blamed myself for things I didn't even understand. And now I know that you left because you were scared and pregnant and felt like you couldn't trust me with the truth. Alex, I'm not saying what you did was right. Disappearing like that fucked me up pretty badly. But I understand why you did it. Jake was looking back and forth between us. Are you going to be okay with this? I thought about it honestly. Was I okay with my brother marrying my ex-fiancée? Was I okay with Emma becoming my sister-in-law? I think, I said slowly, that I need some time to process all of this. But Jake, Emma didn't leave me for you. She left me because our relationship had problems that we never addressed. And it sounds like you too have something that works. Emma was crying again. Alex, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry for how I left, and I'm sorry for not telling Jake the truth sooner, and I'm sorry for putting everyone in this impossible situation. I'm sorry too, I said. I'm sorry that you felt like you couldn't trust me with something that important. Jake stood up and started pacing again. Okay, so where does this leave us? Because Emma, I love you, but I can't start a marriage based on secrets and lies. I don't want that either, Emma said. I want to be honest about everything from now on. And Alex, Jake continued, I need to know that you're really okay with this. Because if you're not, then Emma and I need to figure out a different path forward. I looked at Emma, really looked at her. She wasn't the same person I'd been engaged to 2 years ago. She seemed more mature, more self-aware. And Jake was right. They did seem to have something good together. I think, I said carefully, that we all need to take some time to process this situation. Maybe we should postpone any wedding planning until we've had a chance to figure out how to navigate this as a family. Emma nodded. That makes sense. But Emma, I continued, I need you to promise me something. What? No more running away. No more disappearing when things get complicated. If we're going to be family, we need to be able to talk through problems instead of avoiding them. I promise. Jake sat back down. This is the weirdest conversation I've ever had in my life. Tell me about it, I said. So, Jake said, just to be clear, you're not going to walk Emma down the aisle? Emma and I both started laughing at the same time. It was inappropriate and weird, but somehow it broke the tension in the room. No, I said. I'm definitely not walking my ex-fiancée down the aisle at her wedding to my brother. Let's find you a different tradition. Update, 6 months later. So I know some people were asking for an update on this situation. Emma and Jake postponed their engagement while we all went to family therapy together. Yeah, that was as weird as it sounds, but it actually helped a lot. They ended up getting married last month in a small ceremony. I was not the one who walked Emma down the aisle. Her best friend did, but I was Jake's best man. It was strange, but not as strange as I thought it would be. Emma and I have a decent relationship now. We're not friends exactly, but we can be in the same room without it being awkward. She's good for Jake, and he's good for her. They communicate better than she and I ever did. I'm dating someone new now, a woman named Sarah who thinks this whole story is hilarious and refers to Emma as my sister-in-law. The family dinners are still a little weird, but we're figuring it out. My brother got engaged to my ex-fiancée who had disappeared from my life 2 years ago after finding out she was pregnant and being scared to tell me. Turns out family dynamics are complicated, but therapy helps.